On this week's show, how to become financially free through property in 2019.
In the news, housing ministers say government will not step in to prevent Airbnb.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's Property Investors Podcast. Got a great show. We're going to be talking about how you can become financially free and great news for rent-to-renters.
Yes, there's
and anyone doing service
Airbnb.
accommodation as well. So brilliant news on that front, which we're excited to bring to you. Have you had a good week?
I've had an awesome week.
Now I heard that you went out on Friday night.
Maybe.
And gate crashed.
Yeah.
A Samsung work party. Is this true?
Yeah. So we were at the crash course in Birmingham, and we were. It was actually. Was it Friday night? It was Friday night. No, it was Thursday night. It was the night before the crash course started.
Thursday night.
So we arrived at the venue to set up and stuff like that. I went for a little swim. We went out for a meal, and we got back to the hotel about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So we were all going to behave. We all thought, look, nice early night, be fresh for the morning. But as we come into the hotel, you could hear like bang, 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 bounce and bass music. So our natural reaction...
Was it the room we used to do the crash course in?
It was the room right down the very, very end.
The massive
room,
yeah. I know the one.
So we literally just followed our ears and just went to have a look to see where the music was coming from. And it was a Samsung corporate beach party. And everyone in there was an employee of Samsung. They all had these little lanyards with like Samsung employee on there. And they were all like wearing beach gear and stuff, and they were having a dance and stuff. And I tell you what, the DJ was the best DJ I've ever seen in my life. They had like saxophone players, they had drummers on stage. It was the tits. It was brilliant, very good. Anyway, so there was security guards, big beefed up security guards on the door, and so we thought we're never going to get in there. And I was with Elliot, Chris Jevons, and Ricky Mandel, and I literally said, "Look, guys, it's all about confidence. So just walk in like we're supposed to be there." And that's what we did. We literally just walked in like we were supposed to be there. We didn't even get stopped once. And we were in there for like 4 hours. And we it was really actually quite funny. It was a free bar. It was a free bar. And we were going up the bar. So we set a challenge amongst all 4 of us that we all had to leave with a lanyard. So we had to acquire a lanyard or something, and we all done it. We all got lanyards.
How'd you manage that?
Just being creative. So we were on the dance floor dancing and that, and we were like, "Hey, I've seen you before," and all that, and we were chatting to them, and there's so many people come up to us and goes, "Oh yeah, I've seen you at the other conferences and things like that," and like people thought we actually worked for Samsung because it's all different departments.
And then you got out your iPhone.
Yeah, that's it. I had my iPhone. That's the problem. And do you know what it was?
Do you accept Apple Pay?
It wasn't an awesome night. It really was. And then we were at the bar right at about 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30. We were at the bar, and then we're trying to get some more drinks. But they shut the sort of free bar at this point.
And you were like, "Forget this."
Yeah, we were like, "We're not paying." And there was a guy stood next to us, and he was a little bit suspicious. And then he goes, "Oh, wait." He was talking to Ricky, and you know what it's like when you ask Ricky a direct question, he goes,
he can't answer.
He's like a deer in headlights. He can't answer. So he was chatting to Ricky, and he said, "What branch do you work in?" And Ricky was like, "Same as you, man. I work in the same department as you." And he goes, "Well, I only work with 3 people, and I don't recognize you." And then the guy says, "Do you work for Samsung?" And Ricky went, "Have a nice day." And he just walked off. And then he went to the end of the bar, and the guy got security. And then
really? You got kicked out?
We didn't get kicked out, but we saw security coming, so we all just left. But we had 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours of like phenomenal party, free bar.
Wow.
Brilliant DJ, like one of the best DJs I've ever been in presence of. All courtesy of Samsung.
You'd be better off saying that you were the like, I'm the lookalike. You'd be like, yeah, I'm the David Brent lookalike.
David Brent, come on, man.
What?
That's not true.
Ricky could have been on the Ali G lookalike.
Ricky G, Ali G lookalike. No, but Ricky was busting the moves on the dance floor. We were like a hit, man. All the people loved us.
Awesome. I love it. Sounds great.
What did you get up to?
Well, you took up all the time, so I'm not going to be able to tell. I'll tell people next week.
Let's talk about becoming financially free in property then.
All right, perfect. So, I suppose first of all, before you can talk about how to become financially free.
Yep.
What does it mean?
Let's define it. So financially free does not mean rich. It does not mean you are a millionaire. It does not mean that you are living an abundant life. It means that your passive income, which is income that comes to you whether you work or not, covers your living expenses. So
your passive income is equal to or greater than your basic living expenses. I think that's how Samuel sums it up, isn't it?
It's pretty. That's pretty.
Passive income greater than or equal to your basic living expenses.
A common misconception is that when obviously Samuel was financial free at 21, is that correct? And everyone seems to think like he was walking around in like a Bentley and living this lifestyle of a
Dacia.
He was in a Dacia, wasn't he? Banged up old Dacia.
Well, it's a brand new one, but it's still a Dacia. I say brand new, like they're like $5
grand brand new.
$5 grand new. Do you know what I mean?
But point being is, everyone thinks that when you say you're financially free, you're like living this lifestyle of a multi-millionaire. That's not the case. It's just you're living within your means and your passive income covers that. So one of the easiest and
do you want to explain
ways,
the difference? Active income versus passive income.
Okay.
You got 1 minute, go.
Active income. You go to work 9 to 5, you're actively working to make that income. Passive income, you do the job once, so you set up something once and then you get paid for it time and time again. A brilliant example of that is property, but for me, one of my passive income streams is my book. So I wrote Whatever It Takes once, and it brings me income every month, and I do nothing for it. Nothing. So that's a brilliant stream of passive income. We're talking about property today. I've got properties that make passive income as well. So property is what we're going to be talking about. So that's it, 1 minute.
Brilliant. So financially free, you need passive income.
Yeah.
So, I mean, property is obviously one.
Yeah.
But it's a property investors podcast. But so you've obviously mentioned the book.
Yeah.
What other areas are there you can think of? You got property.
Excluding property. Book. So property, any sort of royalties from any sort of literature that you write, shares. If you've got shares in anything, another business, or if you've got sort of shares in a company on the stock market, if you've got any sort of assets which increase in value and bring you an income.
In the stock market though, you don't sort of get the money out, do you? It just sort of.
Well, you can.
Well, you can do.
You can buy today, leave it, and you can put.
It's not passive then, though, is it?
Well, it's passive.
Is it? If you're buying, if you're actively trading,
it depends. It depends how you do it.
So if you buy shares in Google, they go up in value, but they're not paying you monthly, are they?
No, they're not paying you monthly. So passive income, you're right. Actually, that's correct. It wouldn't give you passive income because you're not getting cash flow monthly. So if you were to get cash flow monthly, you're a trader, aren't you? You're a trader.
That's why property is such a great investment.
Because you get
pays you twice.
Yeah.
You get paid cash flow, and you get Sammy bought some Bitcoin.
Yeah. What's happened to that?
Well, it dipped. It's now gone up again now.
How was that?
It's back to about what he paid for it. Okay. But my point is with property, you've got both. You've got two lots of payments.
Yeah.
Most stuff you don't get that.
No, you won't get
it. Either pays you monthly but depreciates.
Yeah.
So for example, if you bought a car and rented it out, you get monthly payment from it, but the asset would depreciate.
Yeah.
Or property does both. Property, I can't think of anything else that gives you both. I'm sure there are. If you know anything else that pays you twice, let me know. But I can't. At the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
If you've got a business that's profitable and it's growing, like for instance, if anyone's like, do you know what I mean? Our business it's growing monthly.
It's worth more, and it's also giving us some. Yeah,
true. Do you know what I mean?
True.
So a good business, but like any investment, there's risk. We're entrepreneurs at the end of the day. And what's the definition of an entrepreneur? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's someone who takes risks in order for financial gain.
Basically, it's a risk taker that's prepared to take risks for financial gain. So like any business, we're entrepreneurs. We're prepared to take risks. If we're prepared to take risks, high reward, you need risk for reward. You can't have no risk and expect all the reward. So property goes up, property goes down. Gold goes up, gold goes down. Everything goes up and goes down. You just have to make sure you pick the right asset. We believe property is the right asset, which I genuinely do. My properties bring me a rental income every month. And do you know what? I've not even seen half my house. I've not even seen any of my houses now. I saw 2 of them when I first bought them, but I've not seen the other ones. So I saw Wolverhampton and Hull when I first bought them. I've never been back to Hull, and all the work's been done. It's bringing me like £1,300. I know, to be honest, but it's bringing me £1,300 a month. Wolverhampton's bringing me £1,600 a month, and I don't see it. I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
it's going up in value, and I'm getting paid for it every month. So,
see, with business, I believe you can create a passive income through a business.
Yeah,
I believe you can, but I think that you're a lot more likely to be involved and for a lot longer.
Yeah,
like if you're setting up a new business, it's gonna be a while before, unless you've got a lot of money to invest in it and hire people and partners and all sorts of straight.
If we invested in like a really high-end, massive, like I don't know, like Fortune 500 or whatever company, where like Apple, for instance, bung $100,000 into Apple, you get paid a dividend and you get the increase in the share price. So you wouldn't be involved in that, would you? You wouldn't be like going into the Apple shop saying, "Hey man, I'm your boss, sort that out." You wouldn't be doing that, would you? They wouldn't even know who you are.
No.
Because when you invest in them companies, they've already got the infrastructure in place. They're doing all the donkey work.
Yeah.
So that's passive, and you're going to get passive income from that through dividend, and you're also going to get.
Let me tell you the big difference. Do you know? You said yes, they're going up in value, and they're paying you monthly. I think there's a much bigger risk that they won't go up in value compared to a property. With property, you're pretty much guaranteed over long term. Yeah, it might not now. We've got Brexit coming. You might, we might have a bit of a dip.
Yeah, but statistically and historically, we'll go up.
Yeah. Whereas businesses, historically, they don't.
Well, during a recession, like what?
But not just that. Like if you look at, so for example, I can't remember the exact stats, but if you look at the Fortune 500 companies from 50 years ago, most of them are no longer there.
They're all different, aren't they? I think top 2 or 3 will still be there, but the rest of them are all different.
So chances are, if you invest in a company now in 50 years, chances are that company won't.
No.
So it is
for us, it's property. I think property is the best.
Okay, so we know what financially free is. So there's two things you need to work out. The first thing you need to work out is how much do I actually need to be financially free?
Yeah. Well, at the Property Investors Crash Course, we do a whole session on like defining your financial freedom figure and making it as achievable as possible. And what is the easiest way to make your financial freedom figure as achievable as possible?
You need to know you need to know what you could live on, the basic costs.
Yeah. And that's not, you need to cut back. You need to look at your bank statement and look at your outgoings and say, look, what do I not need and I can still survive?
Yeah.
And one of the easiest ways to do that, is go through your direct debits and just, I've done this, and just cancel them all. Just cancel the ones that you don't know what for. Now, I'm not saying go out and cancel your mortgage payments and cancel your insurances and all that sort of stuff. I'm just saying if you've got a direct debit, you don't know what it is, we've all got them or we've all had them, just cancel it. If it's important, the company will get in touch with you, and then you can make an assessment. Actually, do I need that dating app or do whatever? I don't know.
True.
It's true, isn't it? Like, I mean...
Do I really... Yeah, true.
Do you need all these things that you... Like, God, like Netflix. I had 3 Netflix accounts. Why have I got 3 Netflix accounts? Spotify, I got 2 Spotify accounts.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me. Because probably I forgot my passport. Passport? That's you. No, that was a good one. Can we have a little thumbnail of a passport at that point? No, probably I forgot my password and I just couldn't be bothered trying to find it, so I just set up a new account. That's the reality of what probably happened. So I've got $7.99 and $7.99 coming out of my bank twice for Spotify.
No.
Whatever it was, I don't know. Right, and then it's same with Netflix. I had 3 Netflix accounts.
Okay, so the first thing you need to know is what are your basic living expenses. So then you know how much money you need to make in passive income, and then you need to come up with ways of doing it.
Yeah, we call it Simplify. Simon calls it Simplify at the Crash Course.
Simplify your expenses. Yeah, so you need to find out what your expenses are, and then you need to work out the ways. So what would you say right now, 2019, best things to invest in? To give you good cash flow, because this is all about cash flow now, isn't it?
Yeah, you want good
to become financially free. You need good passive income that's good cash flow. So, for example, deals that sourcing wouldn't work.
Well, unless you make it into a business where it's passive. But initially, if you're just starting out, you're a good couple of years away from making it passive. Yeah, it took me 2 years. You took me a year and a half to get it passive.
Rent to rent isn't really.
Not really. Rent to rent's active. It's so active.
So would you say maybe HMOs might be a good bet?
A good HMO with a good HMO manager. Again, it comes back to how much money you've got to invest.
Yeah.
So if you've got a balance, if you've got money in your bank to invest, I would go. Do you know what? I would go high-end HMO, 6, 7, 8 bedrooms, or even a slightly bigger.
Or maybe like rent to rent HMO if you haven't got much money.
Yeah. Or that's what we're just going to get to. So you've got that's the money. if you've got money, go high-end HMO, good location, good HMO manager, make it as hands-free as possible so you're not involved with it. And that's going to give you a good rental income. Or if you haven't got any money, the same again, high-end HMO, but on like some sort of rent-to-rent strategy or some sort of agreement, maybe a lease option or something with the landlord. Obviously, the latter is going to be harder to find and more difficult to secure, but that's where education comes in. If you're educated correctly, then you can do both strategies.
Yeah.
It's very easy to go out if you've got money and invest in property.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's not difficult, is it?
Or lease options.
Yeah.
Get yourself a lease option agreement.
Rent, lease options. You need education for everything, okay? But let's just face it. If you're coming into this with money, it's that little bit easier because you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you've got to work out what the figure is. When we do our academy, obviously the goal with the academy is for them to become financially free. Yeah, that's it. And the figure that we kind of have in mind, in our minds, is about $2,500 a month. Yeah. That's the target. Because some people say they need $5,000 a month. It's like, come on, really?
Do you remember that dude that stood up at the crash course a couple of weeks ago? And we asked him what his financial freedom figure was, and he said $30,000 a month. Were you there?
Yeah.
He's like, come on, man. It's just crazy.
That was his ultimate financial freedom.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was his. Samuel asked him, "What was your financial freedom figure?"
Oh, this is someone else then.
And he said it's $30,000 a month. And Samuel said, "Like, come on."
I wasn't there. I didn't see that.
He's not earning that now. So how can that be his financial freedom figure? Because if it is, he's going into debt every single month. No, that's what he wants to achieve. Yeah. But see, that's confusion, isn't it? Most people like when you say, "What's the average salary in the UK?"
About 27 grand.
I was going to say 27, 28 grand. So what would that give you as a take-home salary?
Take home?
Yeah. So, Nick, I don't know, 27 grand. So 24 grand's $2,000 a month. You take home about 1,200, 1,300. So I don't know, maybe it's probably about take home about £1,500-1,600 a month. Yeah. Bit more.
Do you want me to find out?
Have a quick look. Yeah.
All right.
So while
you make your point while I find out.
My point being is the average salary is £27,000-28,000 a year in the UK. Now there's people on more, there's people on less, but for somebody to say, yes, suddenly my FF figure is $5,000 a month when they're not earning that at the minute, it's not true. So it's just a case of
1,825.
So the average take-home salary is £1,800 a month.
21 and a half.
So that's your financial freedom figure, at least. That's it, because that's what you're earning at the minute. Now, if you
still pay tax on your property stuff as well. Though.
Yeah. So that would be your take-home financial freedom figure. Yeah. Now, obviously, we all want more. Of course we want more. That's why we do what we do. That's why everyone's in business. That's why we go to these events. That's why we try to create more income streams. But
you could live off that.
Yes,
therefore
you can live off that. And the brilliant thing about becoming financially free, I've done it, you've done it, many of us have done it, is once you become financially free and you're not dependent on somebody to, like a job to pay your wages, what does that give you in the world? It gives you the one thing you cannot replace. What is that?
Freedom.
Freedom. No. Time.
Well, freedom, same thing, isn't it? If you've got freedom, you've got time.
Yeah, sort of. Okay. I mean, I know you were going for the whole Scottish freedom thing, but
I wasn't.
No. Okay, weren't you? You should.
All right.
Freedom, but it gives you time. And when you've got time, you can then grow your financial freedom pot.
Yeah, because you've got time.
Because you've got time. Because what's one of the biggest objections we hear from people about why they can't get involved in what we do? Like
time.
Time.
Time and money.
I haven't got time. I'm working.
Time is money, man.
Exactly.
Time is money.
I'm working.
So I ain't got time to waste anymore. Right, it's now time for this. In the news this week, we're talking about something positive for once.
Yeah.
Positive news on
unless you run a hotel.
Well, yeah, true. It's even now he has to make it negative, doesn't he? What is it with you? Right, here we go. This is the headline. Housing Minister says government will not act to regulate Airbnb. Minister has told Parliament that the government supports new business models despite worries that Airbnb is persuading landlords to exit traditional lettings. Housing Minister Kit Malthouse has waded into the ongoing debate over the rapid expansion of Airbnb in the UK by confirming that the government supports new business models and the economic benefits that they can bring, he told Parliament yesterday. So in other words, right now, the government is supporting Airbnb and renters and service accommodation.
It's news that's been long overdue, I think, because a lot of people have been worrying about it. I, however, still don't believe it.
What he did say, he said that all landlords who let accommodation on a short-term basis must do so responsibly and in accordance with the law. Yeah,
that's just the government's get out. That's the government's sort of caveat to them saying you can do it, isn't it? That doesn't actually mean anything because they would say that with everything. It's like they say if you want to be a landlord, you've got to do it responsibly, but how do they enforce it? Because they don't, do they? So I think this is good news for the short term. I do think, however, it's not going to last. I think in a couple of years' time there'll be massive regulation on it. It'll come through like HMOs. But anyway, I mean, it's good for the short term. So as the farmers say, make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah. So
just go for it.
Yeah, we often talk about when's it going to change. It will change at some point, but I mean, the government can change what they say. They say one thing one day. You see that when they're up for election. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this, and then as soon as they get elected, it's like, oh yeah, you remember the remember the NHS?
Didn't they do that at Brexit with old Bus? The 350 million a day on NHS.
They do it.
I know.
The one thing that I really don't like though is with all they're like, we're spending this much on this. Do you want Brexit or NHS, or do you want HS2 or NHS?
Do you know what we say?
Can't we have both?
Both.
Yeah. Like what? Why is it one or the other?
Do you remember? I think it was coming up to the Brexit elections, and literally, Nigel Farage was going on about. He was being very, very like, we spend all this money on the NHS every day. And literally about 20 minutes after the results, he was interviewed on BBC Breakfast News, and he completely contradicted everything that was said because the reporter said to him, well, what about this 350 million? You said this. And then he completely backtracked on it once the results come out. And it was the most eye-opening interview I've ever seen with a politician.
Wow.
Just goes to show most politicians are full of complete BS.
Maybe.
You heard it here first.
Well, I think they already might have known that.
Yeah, I think
it's not much of a shocker, is it?
Not much of a shocking news statement, is it?
But there you go. Good news for now on the whole service accommodation Airbnb front. Right, it's now time for your questions and our answers. Okay, so the first question that's come out, by the way, before I actually go into that, if you want your questions answered, best place to go is the Property Investors with Samuel Leeds Facebook group. We do a Facebook Live before we start filming, and that's where we get all these questions from. So just go and check out that group. Just join, become a member. Yep. And we're there to answer your questions, guys. So here's the first question from Max Stewart. What's the best way to find sellers in regards to property sourcing?
I'm assuming it means direct to vendor sellers.
Well, he doesn't say that, so Rightmove?
Rightmove, yeah. Biggest source of sellers in the country, my friend. If you want direct to vendor, then you have to go start getting creative. If you've been to the crash course, we do talk a little bit about that. We certainly cover that a lot at the Deal Finding Extravaganza and the Never Use Your Own Money Down. The Never Use Your Own Money Again course. There's great ways. There's many ways to do it. But,
just give him one.
Direct to vendor letters.
Letters.
So sending letters to hot leads or tired landlords. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Max. Next question from Braden Maybury. Hi guys, just went to the crash course and loved it. Thanks for your time. No problem.
No worries, man.
In regards to lease option agreements, what's the best way to get the contact details of the property owner so you don't have to go through an estate agent?
Land registry. £3. You can get details of the homeowner on land registry, or it depends how you're finding your leads. If they're on an estate agent, you're going to have to get very creative because you'll struggle to find them. Also, when you do go to land registry, it's likely if they live there.
I heard a brilliant tip. All right, for how to do this. Right, so what you do, you get a viewing with the estate agent like normal. Right, just get a normal viewing. Right.
I know where this is going.
You get these magnetic business cards.
Hey, somebody else said that was a good tip as well.
Right, you go in the house, do the viewing. Estate agent ain't looking. Stick it on the fridge. And then you wait for them to call the person that broke into their home and put a fridge magnet on their fridge.
No, do you know people do that and it's worked, mate. Just get creative. Yeah. Go and do a viewing. And also get friendly with estate agents. Do you know, you don't have to cut an estate agent out. It sounds to me like you're trying to save a bit of money and trying to cut an estate agent out of the deal. Go to an estate agent, get friendly with an estate agent, and say, look, this is what you want to do. If it works, and if we get to complete on the deal, the estate agent still sold you a house. So just pay their fee. Don't cut them out, because think about this, right? If you get friendly with an estate agent, right, and they give you a property which you then turn into a lease option agreement, they've still give you the lead. So at the end of the day, it's only fair to pay them. But where do you think they're going to go next time they have a property that might work for a lease option agreement? Do you think they're going to come to you, who tried to cut them out? Or do you think they're going to go to one of the other investors that said, you know what, I'll happily pay your fee? So don't be too stingy. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Every lease option agreement I've done to an estate agent, I've paid the estate agent their fee. So just have your integrity, be upfront about it, and just pay the estate agent the fee. And you'll get a much better relationship. I say this all the time. Property is about people. It's not about property.
All right, here's a linked question then. It's linked, right, based on what you're just saying, actually.
Okay. So
this is from Stephen Jobson. How do you get an agent to put you in contact with a landlord direct? Why don't you tell us a story about when you've done it?
It comes down to relationships. It's relationships.
Just tell us a story about when you've done it. Give us an example.
Okay. On YouTube, there's a video of me and Samuel at one of my properties in Hull. Maybe Nick can put a link. Nick, can you put a link? Yeah. Thank you very much. And that's a property that I sourced I secured on a lease option agreement. It was on with an agent in Hull, and it fell through because they were in negative equity and they couldn't pay the mortgage balance. And
basically, if they're going to put the video on, that kind of answers it. But you got through from the agent.
The video doesn't really talk much about how I secured it, so I'll just briefly go into that.
All right.
I know. Do you want to have a little nap or something? Or you sounded a bit bored,
dude. I'm used to it. Every time you're speaking, so I'll plow in. I'll last. Maybe Nick, get me a coffee just to keep me going.
Okay, that's
Double
cool.
espresso, something like that.
Right, cool. Right, so estate agent told me it's fallen through. I then said to the estate agent, look, can I have the details of the buyers, because I can still proceed. They wouldn't. They obviously at this time they wouldn't do it because they didn't know who I was. They didn't know, like, or trust me. So I then got really creative and I started looking for that property on all the rental channels and various other channels online of where you would sell or rent a property. And I happened to find an old link for the property when it was available for rent. And I contacted that agent and said, look, I'm interested in buying this house. Can you please forward my contact details to the people that own the house? And about 2-3 weeks later, I got an email from the people that owned the house. So on that instance, it worked.
Can I give you another example of how I've done it? Again, it's about being creative. So I saw a property up for sale, and I could tell immediately that it used to be a HMO. It had fire doors on. Okay. Every room was a bedroom. You know the type, and you can tell. So I thought, looked on Spare Room. Found an old ad with the pictures, rang them up. It's the landlord putting it on direct, so I got straight hold of the landlord that way.
There's so many creative ways. You just got to get creative. And like we're actually filming this event at one of our further advanced training events called the Deal Finding Extravaganza. This is what they're doing downstairs, guys. We're up here filming this. Downstairs, they're finding direct to vendor leads with houses that are potentials for lease options, direct to vendor, rent to rent HMOs, all sorts. So
there is a bit of creativity needed.
You've got to get creative.
Brilliant. Should we do one more?
Yes, I've got one here.
Go on, hit me up.
Okay, so Lauren McGuire. What if you have been offered a really good deal? HMO lease option in an area you aren't sure of is very nice. Thank you.
A HMO lease option in an area you're not sure is very nice. What would you do? First of all, I'd check if it ticked the boxes.
Don't become a motivated buyer.
But you don't want to turn down opportunity here.
I'm not saying whoa. I didn't say turn it down. I said don't become a motivated buyer.
I know.
So just because it's a free house or a low money down house does not mean you should take it.
No, you need to check the area. Yeah. So don't just go for it. But she's doing that already by the fact that she's asking us on here. So first thing you need to do is check it ticks the 5 boxes.
Yep. Do you remember what them 5 boxes are?
I do, but have we got a video for that we could put a link up for as well? I think we do, yeah. Yeah, right, brilliant. So we'll stick a video up telling you what the 5 tick boxes. I think we've talked about on this show actually as well. Then, once you've checked that, ring some HMO managers in the area and say, hey, I'm looking at a house in XY Street. Would you be able to rent that out for me? And what sort of rents do you expect? And then ring a few and just get feedback.
Don't think just because it's a lease option you're not buying. You are buying. You're committing to buy in 5 years' time.
No,
I know you've got an option, but you are committing. You're saying, look, in 5 years,
I'm planning on buying.
You're planning, okay,
Yeah.
committing by plan, whatever. But you've got that option to buy in 5 years' time. You're still buying a property. So treat it like you're a buy-to-let. Like you're still buying a property.
Still going to be a good property.
Do all your due diligence. And then if it's not for you and it's a lease option and you have an investor, perhaps it's not in an area you like, for instance, then maybe there's an investor that does like that area. See if they want to take it off your
The
hands.
thing is, it doesn't have to be a nice area. It just has to be a profitable area.
That's actually a very good bit of advice. I do get this a lot. A lot of investors who live in like a nice leafy, nice part of Kent or wherever with the nice big 4 or 5 bedroom house, and then they say, "Oh, I'm going to
They live in somewhere like Beaconsfield or somewhere awesome.
Yeah. And then they you just told me, man. Right, okay, so they live in a really nice area, but then
Like
you say to them,
no, that'd be stupid.
Then you say to them, look, why don't you take an investment property in, like, I don't know, Preston? And they will, yeah, but I don't like Preston, or I don't know Preston. So they drive up to Preston and they see that it's maybe not as nice as where they come from. Doesn't matter, because they're not going to live there. The people that live there will live there, and they're comfortable in that surrounding. So that's the problem. So that's the good thing. So don't just stick to your area because you live in a nice area. Do you get me?
I dig you, man.
You dig me?
I dig you. Right, guys, thanks ever so much for watching the show. We'll be back next Saturday at 7 p.m. Look forward to seeing you there. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next week.
See you guys.